Hey there, it's Celeste. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today it's Halloween. I love Halloween. The weather's finally gotten a little bit chillier, so it's the perfect temperature for trick-or-treating. And I just wanted to pop on and have a nice cozy Halloween chat with you. But before I do that, I wanted to share just a few fun bookish things with you. First of all, I wanted to share with you a craft that I did. I made this little haunted Gothic Victorian house, and this is made out of paper. Don't know if you can really see it perfectly here. Let me see if I can turn it for the camera. Okay, and it's not really doing it justice in the bright ring light. Maybe if I turn it off, it will, hold on just a sec. Ooh, there we go. So you can put a little votive candle inside of this, or you can do those sort of holiday mini fairy lights and put those inside. This is actually made from cardboard. The cardboard, I just cut up pieces from the back of an old legal pad, and then I also used a steel die cut from a company called Tim Holtz, and he has like little house dies that cut the paper in particular shapes, and then you sort of put it together like a model. Let me just turn my light back on here. There we go. So I did, as you can see, the roof shingles. Those were done one layer at a time, and I actually used black sandpaper for those. And then I also did the siding on the house and used a template that makes it look like weathered wood, and then I colored that in with inks. So each individual slat was glued on, and then let me just put it down here so I can show you the inside. Well, it's kind of hard to see the inside, but if you look in there, you can see that the windows were actually done with mica, little sheets of mica that I pulled apart with my fingernails and then glued around the window frames. And here you have the little attic window as well. And then I did a little widow's walk around the top. And I just have a votive candle from the craft store in there. And not sure if you can see it, but the doors actually do open, and I did little doorknobs from little findings like screw heads that I glued on there, and then did kind of a wood paneling effect on the door. Little Victorian chimneys on each side with the pipes coming up from those. So I had a blast making this. It did take quite a while. It was a challenge, but I think it came out really neat, and it was a lot of fun to do. I also wanted to share with you this tea that I've been drinking, which I absolutely love, and it is by Harney and Sons, and this one is called Hot Cinnamon Sunset, and I just thought it was very Halloweenish and fallish and perfect for this time of year. I did check online at the company website because I am gluten-free due to my celiac, but I did find that this tea is gluten-free, so I've really been enjoying that, and I'm looking forward to trying some other Harney and Sons teas. And then as well, I wanted to share with you what I'm drinking the tea in, and that is this beautiful mug, and it says, "Drink at your own risk," and on the inside it says "Wicked" all the way around the inside rim. My favorite is actually the other side of the mug though, which is Extra Strength Magic Potion. So it's absolutely perfect for Halloween, perfect for today. So yeah. And normally This sort of a mug would cost lots and lots of money, usually around $40 per mug, which I certainly can't afford for simply a mug, which I own a lot of, but I got this particular mug from a company called Fancy Some Drama. Now, if you're a person who loves period drama, jewelry, tea towels, mugs, this is a company for you. It's run by a woman called Samantha, and she does donate part of her proceeds from sales for a charitable cause, so it's very worth your while. She sells products which advertise Anne of Green Gables, Pride and Prejudice, Jane Eyre, Tudor Queens, just everything we booktubers all love, and she often has some really fantastic sales on there. So for example, I was able to place an order and get 50% off of select merchandise, and there was another order that I got 30% off of. So it was a really good deal, because otherwise I would not really be able to afford these things. I absolutely love this mug, and looking forward to receiving a second order that I've placed with Fancy Some Drama. Now, the one thing I would note is that the orders do take quite a while to fill and come in. So if you are looking to buy gifts from Fancy Some Drama to give to somebody for Christmas, you're going to want to give yourself a good 6 weeks for it to come in. Now, it's probably going to come in sooner than that, but make sure you give yourself lots of ample time, because it does take up to 2 months to receive your merchandise. But the products are absolutely beautiful, and I couldn't be happier with the mug and some other things I'll be sharing in upcoming videos. And finally, I wanted to share my coup of finding this tall lamp. And this is a nice reading lamp. I'm going to move it a little closer so that hopefully you can see it. Just move it into the light there. I am so in love with this lamp. It's so me. I love toll, which is painted metal or printed metal. And these lamps actually go way back throughout both French and European, but also American history. And some of them are really worth a lot of money. This particular one is mid-century modern, so it comes from the 50s, 60s era, which is perfect for me because I grew up in the late 60s, early 70s. My reading area here has the white shelves, and I have white furniture, so this cream-colored toll lamp with the gold design along the edge is absolutely perfect. And I found it at the Rochester Museum and Science Center's next to new sale, where they raise money for the museum, and they were asking $20. So when I saw it sitting off by itself in a corner, I just could not resist. So I'm loving my reading lamp. Let's see, and what else? I wanted to share with you just a really fun movie that my son and I love watching at this time of year, and that is Dr. Sin, alias the Scarecrow of Romney, Marsh. Now, this is a Walt Disney film that came out in 1963, and when I and my sister were young, we used to love watching this movie, and I think my brother Fred as well. It's just a really fun romp. Patrick McGoohan stars as a poor English vicar in the Romney Marsh area, and by day he's the vicar preaching at the church, but at night he becomes the masked scarecrow of Romney Marsh, leading a band of smugglers. And the reason they're smugglers is because under King George III there are crushing taxes, and the people of the area just can't afford to live, so they are sort of forced to smuggle, but it's just such a fun movie, and I always remember being scared by Patrick McGoohan when he was the Scarecrow, and he rides mysteriously on his horse across the marshes, and it just has kind of a Halloween feel to it, so I really recommend, if you've never seen it, to have a watch. Okay, now on to books. So today I thought I would sit down with you and just talk about what I've been reading lately, and I'm going to break it down into several categories. And first I wanted to suggest just some really fun Victorian Gothic stories that are a little bit scary and fun to read on Halloween or in this darker time of year. And the first couple come from this lovely book called Ghostly Tales, and there's a whole series of these books with different stories from all around the world. They're beautifully illustrated. This says Ghostly Tales, Spine-Chilling Stories of the Victorian Age, illustrations by Bill Bragg. So if you look at the inside cover here, look how lovely. It's like an old Gothic wallpaper. And here's an example of one of the illustrations. And this is from the story "O Whistle and I'll Come to You, My Lad" by M.R. James. Now, you're probably familiar with this story, but I'll just recap it quickly. There is an academic professor who decides to spend some time on the east coast of England at a little retreat, and he's doing it to improve his golf game. He goes there all alone. One day while he's out there taking a walk, he sees a little depression or hole in the ground near the beach, and he reaches his arm in and he pulls out something that looks strangely like a dog whistle. It's like tubular and has little holes along it as if you could blow into it like a pipe. And strange things ensue. Strange things starts to happen. Apparitions in the place where he's staying, and strange sounds and sights, and all kinds of really spooky things going on. I remember there was an episode of Father Brown that did a really lovely riff on this story. And Father Brown also comes into possession of a little whistle. So it's a sort of a love letter to this story by M.R. James. So check that one out. It's really good. It's a little chilling, but nothing over the top. And then the other one that's in here that I really enjoyed was The Old Nurse's Story. That is by Elizabeth Gaskell. And that also has a lovely illustration. And this is kind of a classic haunted house story. In this, there is in fact an old nurse telling a story. There's a tale about a young woman, sisters, love spurned, a little daughter, and a haunting. So a lot of things are going on in this story, and it is a little bit creepy, and it's wonderful for either October or November or when the snow starts to fall. So check out The Old Nurse's Tale by Elizabeth Gaskell. The third one that I also enjoyed from this collection is The Phantom Coach by Amelia B. Edwards. And here's the illustration for that story. There's a gentleman that finds himself lost out on the moors during a snowfall, which becomes a snowstorm. And it's right after grouse hunting season is coming to a close. And so he is stumbling through the wilderness, doesn't know where he is, and finally comes across a strange little elderly gentleman that brings him back to his master's cabin in the middle of nowhere. And the story goes on from there and does involve a coach of some sort. I don't want to give too much away, but it's also creepy in a kind of old-fashioned Victorian way, and it's really, really good. It's worth a read. The next author was one that was not known to me, and I was really excited to discover the works of Anna Katharine Green. Anna Katharine Green lived from 1846 to 1935. She was one of the first American authors of detective fiction. Her novel, The Leavenworth Case, published in 1878, is often cited as the first such novel written by a woman. So she wrote detective stories, supernatural stories, and I had heard of The Leavenworth Case, but I didn't know it was written by a woman in the Victorian era. And the collection of short stories that I found her work in is called Deadlier, and it's 100 of the best crime stories written by women. The stories are chosen by the author Sophie Hannah, and this is published by Head of Zeus Press. Now this book is quite large. It's a bit of a doorstopper, and I've got my finger stuck in the story that I'm referring to. There are many, many short stories in here. Look at the inside and papers. They're just lovely. Look at that. It's a train. It's just beautiful. And you're going to find stories from Agatha Christie, Daphne du Maurier, all the way up to Val McDermid, Margaret Atwood. There's a story by Antonia Fraser. There's The Yellow Wallpaper, of course, P.D. James. Lots of authors I hadn't even heard of. And then there's Faye Kellerman. So there's a really good mix of older authors and newer authors. So if you like women writing about crime and mystery, you might enjoy this book. Now, I was really interested in the stories in this center section, and when I came across Anna Katharine Green, that's actually where I stopped. The story that I read prior to today is A Mysterious Case. It's a very short story, only a couple pages long, and it's about a female detective who is investigating the illness and malady of a young typewriter, and she is lying sick in a room in a boarding house. And so this detective goes there to try to figure out, you know, is she being poisoned? What's happening? And there is a very eerie scene where there's a seemingly disembodied arm coming into the room. It was really cool. So yeah, Anna Katharine Green, A Mysterious Case, and it's from Deadlier, 100 of the Best Crime Stories Written by Women. Check it out. And some of these stories can also be found in this anthology, The Penguin Book of Ghost Stories, from Elizabeth Gaskell to Ambrose Bierce. And so, yeah, you'll find that. You'll also find W.W. Jacobs. Who else? He wrote The Monkey's Paw, Robert Louis Stevenson, Charles Dickens' Number One Branch Line, and then there is also the story Green Tea, and that is written by Sheridan Le Fanu. So lots of different cool ghost stories in this Penguin anthology as well. And in addition to that, if you still haven't read enough ghost stories and you like older stories, you might want to check out the Virago Book of Witches. And these are little folk tales from all over the world. So there is Italy's Witch Bewitch, Scotland's Good Wife of Lagan, Biddy Earl, Kali, Baba Yaga, and lots more. So just little tiny folk tales that are a couple pages each. So this is a fun volume to have at Halloween as well. I also finished reading October by Katya Balen, and it was so popular with my viewers and with friends I told about it that I have already given away my copy of the book, so I have ordered a new copy for myself. It was good enough to merit that. And it's about a little girl named October. She and her dad live in the woods. She's grown up off-grid, away from the city. She and her dad know the trees and the rocks and the lake and the stars, and she finds a little owl and adopts it when it's orphaned. But when October turns 11, all sorts of changes start to happen in her life, and so it's kind of a poetic coming-of-age novel written in a very lyric prose. And it's the year that her father falls out of a tree and hurts his back and has to go to the hospital in London in order to save his life. And it's also the year that the woman who is October's mother comes back into the picture because she has to take care of her. And this is the story of October's journey through all that and what ends up happening to her. I truly, truly enjoyed it. And I have to say, in a past video, I've talked about how much I can't stand stories that are told in the present tense. I know that's a real fad right now. Ever since Hilary Mantel's Wolf Hall, it seems like every other book is written in the present tense, and it's not something I enjoy easily. I don't feel very comfortable reading things in the present tense. I don't understand why it's caught on so much. I know it's supposed to bring a sense of immediacy to the writing, but usually it's pretty hard for me to get into a book that's written in the present tense. However, with October, I think the tide may have changed on that because I got through it effortlessly. I read it in 2 days, and I thought the present tense in this case was really justified because it's written as a kind of lyric poem or a lyric story. It's so poetic. There are a lot of stream of consciousness run-on sentences which are frequently punctuated by and she did this and she was feeling this and the stars were up above and. So if I had one little nit about it, I would say that sometimes it went too much in that direction, and I could have done without a few less ands and a few more standard sentences just to punctuate it and to give you a chance to breathe and to break up these long, lovely passages of sort of run-on writing. But oh my goodness, it's just lovely. It's beautiful. I think it's probably one that I'll read every autumn. So I'm looking forward to receiving my new copy of October. And then additionally, I have been really enjoying this book here, The Haunting of Aveline Jones by Phil Hicks. And this is kind of a mid-grade novel, I believe. This was very hard to find. I've seen it making the rounds on Facebook, and I actually had to order it from overseas. Did I order it from overseas? I think I did. Anyway, I've ordered a ton of books lately, so I'm losing track of what I ordered from where, but I remember it was hard to get a hold of, and the people at Barnes & Noble, for example, hadn't even heard of it. But anyways, this is about a young girl named Aveline Jones, and she goes to stay in a dreary, creepy little seaside town in Cornwall on the coast called Malmouth. So it's like bad mouth, Malmouth, or like Falmouth perhaps, while her school is closed. And she goes to stay there because her mom has to go visit a relative and needs Aveline to stay with somebody. So she sends her to her Aunt Lillian, who seems rather prim and proper in her little seaside house, and has all kinds of rules about what you can and can't do inside the house, and how long you can be on the internet, and how long you can make phone calls, and all sorts of things like that. But strange things immediately start to happen, things that literally go bump in the night. And Aveline goes down to a little local rundown ramshackle bookstore and finds a book which has a name penned inside of it from another girl just about her age from several decades before. And it is the signature of a little girl called Primrose Penberthy. And so she comes across Primrose Penberthy's diary, and the story goes on from there. But, oh, it's very chilling for a mid-grade novel. It's really rather scary. From the outset, even as you're just entering the town and with Aveline and her mom, things are unsettling, and the leaves are blowing across the street, and the sky is gray, and there's strange scarecrows propped up here and there. And it really is quite scary in the best of senses and traditional old sense. And So, and it's about ghost stories as well, and she's sort of solving a ghost story while she's in it. So I think it kind of qualifies as a girl sleuth as well. But anyway, this is how far in I am, a little past halfway. And I am so enjoying this. I highly recommend it. I don't know how it's going to end up, but so far it's going in a great direction. I like Phil Hicks's writing style, and there are 2 other books in this series, so I'm really looking forward to those as well. The Haunting of Aveline Jones. And another book that I had shared with all of you that I had wanted to read during October and was able to finish is Practical Magic by Alice Hoffman. Now this is sort of a modern story about 2 witchy sisters which were raised by their eccentric aunts, and they are sort of in a search for love. Having read it, I can now warn you that there are some explicit sexual references in this. There are some sexual scenes, and also there's, a pretty good amount of explicit language. So if that's not for you, then maybe you want to steer clear of this book. But if you're okay with that and don't have a problem with it, it's a really good book, and it actually is very heartwarming. Ultimately, it's about these women's search for love and acceptance. What I loved about the concept of practical magic in this book is how the magic that occurs in the book is of a sort of everyday, coincidental variety, and you're never really sure if there actually is magic per se at work or if it's just natural things happening. But it's a very special book. I really enjoyed Alice Hoffman's writing style. I've actually found some short stories by her in the interim that I'm interested in reading, and I would definitely read more of her work. I'm also looking forward to seeing the movie version of Practical Magic starring Nicole Kidman and Sandra Bullock. I've never seen it. I understand it's really good, so I'm looking forward to that as well. So that is all for today. I hope you have a fantastic, spooky Halloween, and we'll see you again real soon. Bye-bye.